Okay, welcome back students. Yeah, in this session we'll see the programming, how we do C++ programming. So already you are quite familiar with this environment. Yeah, this is Dave CPP environment or Dave C++ environment. Just have to download this IDE from the internet, Dave CPP, Dave C++ IDE from the internet. And once you install, you will get this environment where you can write your C++ programs and you can compile them and execute them to see the output. So let's write a simple program to see, how we are going to compile and how we are going to execute this. I'm writing one simple program, hello world program, as we discussed in our earlier class. So like your C programming, we have to include the header files first. So over here we have to include IOStream. As I told you, .h it is not mandatory. It is completely dependent on your compiler, and your Dave CPP compiler, it will not require that .h header. Okay, so to indicate it as a header file. So then we have to specify the namespace, okay, using namespace std. About this namespace, don't you bother. Very soon we are going to discuss in detail. Just to remember that this namespace will start a new scope for your program. It will start a new scope for your program. So using namespace std, then I'm writing my main function, int main of void, and after that simply we have to put the cout statement, the printf statement, or in case of C++ we have to write cout and followed by the output stream operator. The two less than symbols will indicate output stream operator. Okay, cout output stream operator, and you have to pass the string over here, hello world. That's it. So this will give you the hello world message. This program, when you compile and execute, will give you the hello world message on the output screen. So before compiling, we have to save the program that I am doing now. So my program name, I am taking test.cpp because it is a C++ program. You have to take the extension as .cpp. Okay, so now I am saving my file. The file is saved. So go to compile. Compilation is successful, hopefully. Yes, compilation is successful. Then I am executing. Yes, we got this hello world message on the output screen. As you can see over here, we got the hello world message on the output screen. So quickly, I will write one simple program using a class, the same program which we discussed in our presentation. That program I am going to write. So after this, the same we have to, in the same manner we have to start writing the program. Okay, then we have to include the class into it. So how we can write the class means, simply we have to use the keyword class, 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 followed by the class name. I told you that I am using the box class for our understanding. So box, followed by set of curly brackets, and at the end we have to put the semicolon, and inside the class we are going to put the data members and member functions. What I told you, what data members we are going to have for a box, and all dimensions I am taking in double. Okay, double is a data type, if you remember. Okay, so all dimensions I am taking as double. So the box will have length. Okay, the box will also have breadth. Okay, box will also have height. So these three are my properties or attributes. Okay, attributes of my box class. Then I am taking the member function. So member function, I am using it as my member function is going to return a double value. So this is the return type to my function, member functions, and my member function name is get volume of. So this member function, it is not taking any parameters. It is taking only, it is returning a double type of value. Okay, it is returning a double type of value. If you remember, uh, when I gave the syntax, I told you that we have to follow the keyword class followed by the class name box, and inside the class we have to specify the data members as well as member functions. So these three are my data members. Length, breadth and height are my data members, and get volume is my member function. Okay, this is the narration of your class. Simply we have written the class, okay, and so far we have not created any objects for this class, and we have not accessed any internal members of it. So right now, having the class in your program, it is the static part. It is the static part. You will not get any output from this class unless you create an object for it. So as I said, as I explained in your object oriented concepts, that class is the passive element. With the class we cannot get anything. So in order to get the functionality from the class, we have to create the object of that class. Object of that class. So like in real time also, whenever we are creating, whenever we are manufacturing an object, let us assume that we are manufacturing a bike, motorbike. So in order to manufacture a motorbike, we cannot do blindly, isn't it? We cannot start blindly and we cannot manufacture that bike blindly. We need to have a plan. Prior to the manufacturing, we need to have a plan. That plan is nothing but your class. So in real time also, in order to manufacture that bike, we are going to have a design. We are going to have a plan. According to that plan only, we will manufacture our bike, isn't it? So that bike is your object and that plan is your class. Yeah. Can we use that plan in real world to travel from one place to another place? No, we can't. That means we cannot get the functionality from that plan. So in order to get the functionality, what we have to do? As per that plan, we have to construct the object. As per that plan, we have to construct the object. From that object only, we can get the functionality. Okay, you are having the design or plan to manufacture the bike. From that plan, we cannot travel from one place to another place. But whereas, according to that plan, if you have manufactured a motorbike, you can use that motorbike and you can travel from one location to another location. So, with what we are getting the functionality? With object we are getting the functionality. Whereas your plan, it is a passive thing. It will not do anything. It will simply describe what the object is going to possess in real world. What the object is going to have in real world. Only that thing will be explained by the class. Clear? But whereas object, it is a dynamic entity. It will have some shape. It will have some dimensions. It will consume some memory from your computer. Okay? And with the object, you can expect the functionality. With the object, you can expect the functionality. So over here, we have written the passive entity, so we cannot get anything from it. So now the question, how we can create the object of this class? So object creation, you have to do inside the main function only. Object creation, where we will do? Inside the main function only. So in order to create the object, as I said, object is the instance of your class. So how we can create the object? So to create the object, we have to follow a simple syntax. A simple syntax, that is, yes, class name. This is the syntax for creating the object in your programming. Class name followed by the object name, that's it. And at the end you have to put the semicolon. At the end what we have to put? You have to put the semicolon. So this will create an object in your programming. I will write once again. So what we have to, first we have to take the class name followed by the object name. So this is the simple syntax. This is the simple syntax for creation of your object. Okay. Excuse me, sir. Just pause it. Pass. So as you can see here, this is the syntax for creation of your object. Class name followed by the object name. So for my box class, if I want to create an object, what I have to do? Take the class name as box, and I am taking the object name as B1. So this is B1 object I have created for my class box. So having a plan in hand, it is not compulsory that you can create only one object in real world, isn't it? Let us assume that motorbike example. So motorbike, how we are going to construct the motorbike? We already have the plan. Does it mean that according to that plan we can construct only, or we can manufacture only one motorbike? No, it is not. We can manufacture any number of motorbikes according to that plan. Here also in the same way, using this box plan, you can construct, you can manufacture any number of objects. Okay, so here B1 have its own length, breadth, height and get volume function, and if I take B2 will also have its own length, its own breadth, its own height and its own get volume function. So like this I have created 3 objects over here. So these 3 objects, they are going to consume their own memories in your computer, in your main memory. These 3 objects when I am creating, they are going to consume their own memories in your computer. So this B1, what it is going to have? It is going to have your length, breadth, okay, then height, 3 variables, and what member function it is having? Get volume. So likewise here also this B2, it is also going to have that same thing, length, breadth, height and get volume. And here B3, it is also going to have length, breadth, height and get volume function. And moreover, these 3 objects, they are going to behave independently. In your program, they are going to behave independently. Independently in the sense, if you are changing any of the properties of B2 object, it is not going to affect the other 2 objects. So suppose if I am changing the length of box 2, that is B2 object. If I am changing the length of B2 object, it is not going to affect B1 and B3's length. They are going to behave completely independently. They are going to behave independently. Okay, quickly we'll see in your program how we can create the objects. Excuse me, sir. So in your program, if you see the box class, it is having these attributes and these member functions, and inside the main, because I told you where we have to create the object means inside the main. I am taking that class name. Class name is box. I am taking the class name followed by the object name B1. So this is how we can create the objects. If you want to create multiple objects of that same class, you can use the comma separator. Using that comma separator, you can separate your objects. So B1, B2, comma B3. So like this you can create many number of objects, more than one objects in your programming. Okay. So the next thing is how we can access these attributes using these objects. Okay, how we can access the B1 attributes, how we can access the B2 attributes, and how we can access B3 attributes from this class. That we will see now. Okay, so I told you, yeah, B1, B2, B3, these 3 are objects of box class. My box is having 3 dimensions and 1 state. Okay, 3 behavior and 1 state. So in order to access the internal properties of an object, we have to use the dot operator. Direct member access, we call it as direct member access operator. Okay, dot. How we have to call this? As direct member access. So it is something similar to your accessing the members from a structure, isn't it? When you have a structure, inside that when you have members, how we are accessing the members of a structure? Using the dot operator only, isn't it? So over there we are calling it as direct selection operator, but here we have a different name, direct member access operator. So using this operator, direct member access operator, we will access the members of your class. Here when I am saying members, they can be data members or they can be member functions. Okay, two things. So quickly we will see how we can access, how we can initialize the data members of B1 object and how we can initialize data members of B2 object, B3 object, and we will see whether initializing the data members of B2 object are going to affect B1 object or not. So quickly I will take the memory representation over here for your understanding. So all objects, they are having 3 data members in them: length, breadth and height, isn't it? 3 data members in them, and all are having get volume as a method. So I am taking this is for length and this is for height and this is for breadth. Here also same thing, 3 partitions I am taking. In every object I am taking 4 partitions actually, 1 for the method and 1 for the function and 3 for data members. So quickly I will initialize using this dot operator. After creation of the objects, we can initialize, after creating the objects, we can initialize the data members using the dot operator. So it will go something like this: B1 dot. Okay, so here we have to make these items as public, then only you will get the access here, otherwise you won't get. So B1 dot C, I am initializing length equals to some 10. Okay, then B1 objects height equals to some 20. Okay, then B1 dot breadth equals to 30. So like this I have initialized B1, B2, B1 length, B1 height and B1 breadth. So now this member function, as it is not having any definition, as you can see, the member function get volume, it is not having any definition. So we, even if you call that function B1 dot get volume function, you will not get any response, because we need to specify the definition. Definition means the coding for that function. We need to specify the coding for that function. So in order to specify that coding, we have 2 approaches or 2 methods. One, we can do that coding inside the class itself. Inside the class itself. 2 approaches to give the definition. Member function definition. Member function definition, either we can give inside the class or we can also give outside the class. So giving the definition inside the class, it is very easy. Just remove that semicolon and use 2 curly brackets. Okay, we have to remove this semicolon at the end and use 2 curly brackets to write the definition of that function. But when you are giving the definition outside the class, we have to use the scope resolution operator. Okay, 2 times semicolon. 2 times semicolon. We call it as scope resolution operator. Just take down that one. Scope resolution operator. Scope resolution operator. We have to use scope resolution operator when you are defining the function outside of the class. If you are defining the function inside of the class, no need to use any special operator. Simply remove that semicolon at the end and use the curly brackets to write the definition of that function. Okay, so quickly we'll see these two things, how we can define the function inside the class and how we can define the function outside the class. So the syntax for defining the function outside the class, it is very easy. First you have to use the class name followed by the scope resolution operator, and then you have to use the function name. Function name, if it is having any return type, take that return type here, and if it is having any parameter list, specify that parameter list here. Parameter list. And after that, what we have to do? Yeah, use two curly brackets to write the definition. Two curly brackets, in between the brackets the definition will go. So quickly we'll see this thing. Yeah, we'll see this thing in our next part.